Welcome back, W. Since I've had my next guest on, the Ravens went out to Cleveland a couple of weeks ago, the place he calls home, even though he travels around calling MAC and AAC football games week after week in college basketball. One time he called Oriole baseball here for Home Team Sports, and it was always a lot of fun to get to know Michael Reghi. We bring him on a couple times a year and throw things around. You know, Reghi, I sort of thought about you because of the Hugh Jackson thing, and I was going to reach to you on that. But boy, since then, this whole Durkin thing, and then I thought, well, we got to talk some Buck and some Dan, and then we got to talk about what a good town Cleveland's become. So I got a lot of things on my mind, but in your town right now, it's still another bad year for the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah, well, it started out very promising, Nestor. I mean, the tie with Pittsburgh opened it up, and then actually a couple of wins. But the last three football games have not been good, and kind of have gone back and reverted to unfortunately what the regime that is now going to go down as just a lost 2.5 years with Hugh Jackson in control has turned out to be. I mean, 336-1, right? 336-1, and people are wondering, again, how in the world did the man manage to salvage his job that long? So, yeah, it's and look, you got the overall number one draft pick in Baker Mayfield, and I think the kid's got a shot to do something real strong here, and you're going to have to surround him, of course, with the weapons. And Hugh Jackson and his offensive coordinator, Todd Haley, were at odds right from the beginning. Both of them are gone. Greg Williams now the interim head coach going forward. I doubt that that's going to spill over into anything more than that, just the interim. So, but we'll see. But this is all about making sure that you got Baker Mayfield on solid footing and with a good foundation and with the right approach with this young man going forward, because the quarterback carousel here, Nestor, for the last 21 years since they came back. So you got to have this kid hit. I think he can. And yet you're going to have all the dominoes lined up in a nice, manageable order for him.
Well, you've been calling sports in Cleveland for a long, long time. I mean, even here in Baltimore, you were you're back in Cleveland for various parts. But what a week, right? I mean, the NBA coach goes, and 12 hours later, the NFL coach goes. It's been a pretty crazy week. And also seeing the Red Sox win a championship that has eluded the Indians and Tito Francona there to show how much better the Red Sox were than everybody else, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, they validated it, right? 108 wins in the regular season. I actually thought that Houston would take them out in the ALCS, but that did not happen. And they after Verlander beat them in Game 1, they quickly disposed of the Astros, winning 4 in a row. So. Yeah, I mean, listen, best team in baseball, no question about it. That hitting lineup of theirs 1-9 is just a nightmare to have to deal with. And then you actually had guys like, David Price and Rick Porcello stepping up and pitching very, very well in the playoffs. So, listen, you gotta really give it up to Alex Cora, Dave Dombrowski, and that organization. They're the best team in baseball. They went out and not only regular season, but then proved in the postseason. And, Nestor, when you think about 4 World Series in 15 years, that's pretty damn good, right? I mean, you gotta give it up to them that's been the organizational success over that period of time.
Michael Reghi is our guest. You can find him out on Twitter at Michael Reghi, and of course out in Cleveland, but getting around, doing a lot of college football. I know it was a huge story out there with Ohio State back in the summer. Obviously, Jordan McNair's his life's not coming back. His family's irate. The news that broke here on Tuesday about him hanging around, and then on the basketball side, which I know is your other passion and your love on college basketball, we have the federal investigation going on. It's murky times throughout sports, isn't it? In so many ways.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But for the Terps here, and for what happened here, people are outraged, Michael. They really are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Nestor, look, I can understand it. I was very, very surprised yesterday, and maybe maybe we could say veterans like you and me around the sporting landscape. Nothing should surprise us anymore. But I just did not think there'd be any way imaginable for DJ Durkin to be able to keep his position as head coach of that football team. I understand that maybe that a couple of the seniors or maybe upperclassmen maybe have walked out of the meeting when he came back and tried to regather his football team yesterday. So, I mean, this is going to be a real interesting watch, and it seemed like, are they national championship timber? No. But it seemed like, Matt Canada was, injecting some life into them. They're a representative football team. And as you said, with this untenable situation with Jordan McNair, I just really, really surprised that the findings turned in the favor of DJ Durkin, that he could reclaim that job. So, well, you just said murky times in college sports, and how, it just seems like every time we turn around that there's something going on that implicates a program or the sport or coaches, and I just don't know if it's ever going to end.
Well, in the case of Durkin, how does he come into someone's home in northern Ohio and recruit your child? He
can't. It's virtually impossible. I mean, listen, we know everything today, every move you make, as a coach is going to be scrutinized heavily anyway. This is what astounds me. I have no idea, again, how the deep thinkers or the higher-ups at the University of Maryland think that this football program is going to be able to thrive at all with him now, again, as the face of it, at the forefront of it, as the head coach. You just said it. How in the world are you going to try to sell moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, what have you, of 17 and 18-year-olds that they need to play for this program? I think an almost impossible task, and again, one that has me very, very puzzled.
Michael Reghi was once the voice of the Baltimore Orioles, and it was always see you later, and here he is again. And it's been a little while since we got together, and I'll turn this to the Orioles in a minute, but I'm going to butter you up, all right? Because I know you're really a Detroit guy, but you got a lot of pride in Cleveland. I've been coming in and out of Cleveland for, 32 years, 33 years. The first time I was ever in Cleveland, Mike, I don't know if you know this, was the Elway Drive game. I flew out there with Phil Jackman that morning, and Ernie, of course, he got me a ticket for that game. So that's how long I've been going. I was there when Albert Bell pointed to his muscle in the dugout with fighting with Hannah Storm. I was there when the Jake opened. I was there when they shut down Municipal. I was there when the Ravens came to town and they shut down Municipal. All of that stuff. And I went back this summer, and I stayed 3 days, the Ray Lewis weekend. I spent Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night with my head on a hotel pillow in Cleveland. I went back for 2 more days, 4 weeks ago, downtown. I got to tell you, man, Cleveland, and I was in Charlotte last week. I was in Nashville 3 weeks ago. There are a lot of municipalities in this country that are doing a lot better than my town, where we got squeegee boys or bums of various, various corners that they own in every corner of my city. And I go to a place like Cleveland and see that it's cleaned up, it's nice, it's safe. You walk around, people are out eating, people are out drinking, businesses look vibrant. What's happened to Cleveland, Mike? I mean, on a political bent, because people are voting this week one way or another, I go to places and see a lot of other places that are doing well, and Cleveland's one of them, man. A lot of people should be proud of what's going on in Cleveland. It looks good.
And a lot of people are, and you just hit on it, the biggest thing. I think a community and a city with a lot of civic pride. And, for years, Nestor, a lot of it not only was tied into sports, but also, as you're alluding to, the handle the mistake by the lake, always the butt of the late-night talk show comedians. And if there was a municipality or a city joke to be had, well, let's just insert Cleveland there because, everybody knows that that's a downtrodden place. And a lot of it was connected with the sports franchises, too. But, I think there has been in the last couple of decades, a resurgence in, but more than political, Nestor, I just think it's, again, that, a lot of people that, whether they're born and raised here or made their roots here, just decided that, you know what, we're going to try to put on our best face possible and show everybody that this is a gem of a city and has a hell of a lot to offer. And, as far as building up the downtown sector with, there's, I don't know, I always thought when I was in Baltimore, I always felt that Baltimore was, if you're a young professional, B-more is a place you wanted to be, man. I mean, it's how great was that to live and work downtown and be around the Inner Harbor? Well, I think that Cleveland has kind of adopted some of the same philosophy. They want to be prideful of it. And it's worked, as you said. You laid it out. I mean,
well, you said something a minute ago. Cleveland has a lot to offer, and all right. I hear my Drew Carey jokes, and you can insert whatever. The night we were out there, my son, we were staying downtown. We were there for 3 nights. He came out to help me with my trip and to see Ray Lewis and all that. And some folks went to the Indians game. Some folks went down to the Flats. Luke and I went down and had a couple of adult beverages in the new Flats. We're out on 4th Street eating Michael Simon's barbecue and dumping that Cleveland mustard all over everything and whatnot. But my son wound up going down to the Playhouse and seeing Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like, literally took his wife to see Hamilton on Friday night in Cleveland. We were there in August. So when you say the town has a lot to offer, it has a lot to offer. And I went back again 4 weeks ago, and obviously the outcome wasn't very good on our side as well. The last game Hugh Jackson wins as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns as well. But, I go back and I see it and say, all right, I live in downtown Baltimore. I know at the heart it's the people that make it better. But when I see that, I think there is a little magic dust of what maybe Art Modell did to Cleveland, what LeBron James has done for Cleveland, what the Indians and the Jake and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the commerce that comes with that has done for Cleveland. And again, I'm not the guy bragging on Cleveland so much, but I do see it as an American city that's really grown up and cleaned up, and I know it takes a village, but I think sports has been a big, big part of that, and the investment that was made or not made in the case of Modell back in the day has come back 25 years later to find it a better town because of what sports has done for it. Because if the Cavaliers were doing that with LeBron out in Richfield, it would have been a little different for Cleveland, I think.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, this is about, listen, to me, pro sports now are about, they should be downtown in all of their cities. You don't need venues and, ballparks, stadiums, arenas. You don't need them, I think, 30 to 50 miles away from the downtown metropolis area. I mean, I've always been a city guy. As you alluded to, I mean, I'm born and raised, 5 minutes away from Old Tiger Stadium.
Can I say right now, just a small town boy born and raised in South Detroit?
And
no? Is that fair?
That's funny because I always challenge, there is no such place as South Detroit. That's the Detroit River. It's either live on the east side of the city, grew up on the east side or the west side, divided by Woodward Avenue and downtown. But that's a story for another day anyway.
It took me 30 years to get that one into a song for you, Reghi.
Yeah, I know. But South Detroit is actually, and where is there any other place in the world when South Detroit is the Detroit River that you go north to go into another country in Canada? So there you go.
I am not here to challenge your Michigan geography, Reghi. I'm not.
There's some geography for you. How about that?
Speaking of geography, man, you called Orioles games, and you flew in, and you were a part of Baltimore during this incredible period. As you sit on the outside of this watching, and every time a left fielder would go to the wall at Fenway Park last week, we would see 47 and 115, sitting there at the bottom, by the warning track on the wall. And the Orioles are in such disarray right now that nobody's running the franchise right now. That's where we are for our town after seeing what the Indians have begat out there at the Jake this summer.
Yeah, it makes me sad, to be honest with you, because, look, I've told you many times, and it is genuine with me. It's heartfelt with me, and that's the way I feel. I mean, I had 8 years calling your town's games every day, and it became a part of me in the fabric. And, I didn't want to leave. That was a decision that, was somewhat made for me. So, But be that as it may, look, I am always going to have an affinity now because it represents how I grew up. I grew up as a kid in the streets of Detroit, in the city, not out in the suburbs, with with the Detroit Tigers. So, in seeing that as an adult, when I got to experience that for 8 years every day in Baltimore, yeah, is something I'm always going to have a very fond place in my heart for Baltimore because, to be able to call Major League Baseball in a baseball city like that, I mean, I told you before, I can remember in the 70s going to the Tiger Stadium when that black and orange of the Orioles came in, and even all of us Detroit kids as Tiger fans, looking at those uniforms and those high stirrups and, with Eddie and Palmer and DeSense and Dempsey and Flanagan. I mean, as a baseball guy, I mean, going into Baltimore and being able to, again, for 8 years call the Orioles, I mean, just something that humbled me, absolutely fabulous. And, I lived there in Federal Hill, Nestor, for 8 years, man. So I want to see your baseball team do well. Always have, always will. And, I mean, yeah, what you had to endure now and where you're at right now, it's, I just hope that somehow the baseball gods sprinkle some of that, that good old time dust on you to help you get it turned around. But I think you're aware, this may not come easy. So it's
this isn't. This is a long road here for wherever they are, and the fact that the season ended, they still don't have anybody to run the franchises. I mean, it really is disgraceful. It really is. The fans should expect more than this, really.
I feel for you, man. Like I said, no, I mean, again, with a proud baseball franchise like this, going back to 1954 in Baltimore, you just don't expect it to be this way. And again, I hope there's someone to lead you out of the muck because baseball needs Baltimore. I've said that forever, and it didn't take me those 8 years calling the games there. I mean, baseball needs Baltimore to be a thriving franchise. I'll always believe that, and again, certainly hopeful that it happens for you.
Appreciate you, brother. What games you calling here? You're out there. You're the Shack of the Mac, right? I mean, you're running around doing college football. You're about to blend it into basketball, right? Things get busy for you right now.
Yeah, hoops are coming up. But mostly I've been, splitting up. I do a little AAC, American Athletic Conference. I've been to Pitt and to Syracuse. Again, a couple of years ago, I got to UVA and Vatech, but nothing there this year. But mostly MAC and American Athletic. Like I said, a little bit of AAC with Pitt and Syracuse and Cincinnati. So, just gotta. I always put out on Twitter what game I'm doing coming up that week, so that you could check me that way, and you'll know where I'm at. I'm actually got a week off this week. I'm down because I'll be doing some midweek games and FCS playoffs. I'm hopeful if that fine Towson football team continues to stay hot, maybe I'll get a Towson playoff game, and I'll certainly let you know about that.
The other Flacco.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. How about that? When I called Joe Flacco at Delaware.
Did you?
Yes, that when he came after he transferred from Pitt. That would have been, 2007? I called
correct.
2 of his playoff games for the Delaware Blue Hens when they got to the national championship game. So, I was talking up Flacco big time. Like, listen. But the NFL was all over him with that size and that arm, and I don't know. I detected you kind of chilling on him a little bit.
Not
over the
me.
Last
No.
years.
Not you. Got the wrong guy. Maybe you got the rest of the market.
Base?
The fan base, for sure. I mean, they're 4-4 right now. He threw a couple of bad picks last week, but he was walking on water a week and a half ago, and the defense had held Breeze to 7 points, and I left my seat in the upper deck thinking the Ravens were 5-2, and here we are with the Steelers breathing down on us with an injured offensive line, and they're 4-4. And the season's on the line. It's the most important game that Harbaugh has coached and Flacco has quarterbacked in. I believe that leading into the bye this week. So we got big doings around here, you know?
I know. Let me ask you, how's my man? I'll say real quickly. I go back with the Harbaugh family. When I was a high school football player in Detroit, his dad, Jack, was on Bo Schembechler's staff at Michigan. So, you know, I went to their, football camps in the summer about 3 years in a row, and that's when I first got to meet Coach Harbaugh, and have always followed the family. I mean, later on, I called some of his games. Jack Harbaugh, John and Jim's dad, and, of course, got to meet the guys. So I have a lot of affinity and affection for the Harbaugh family, and I think they're one of the great people. How's John holding up in Charm City?
Well, John's all right. I mean, John will always tell you he's all right. By the way, Jack's one of my favorite people. On my baseball tour, John sent Jack out to go to the Brewers game with me and my wife when we were at Miller Park. Yeah. So we had a hell of a day with Coach. And, of course, I know Jim as well, coming through here as a quarterback when we were both kids many, many moons ago. But I forgot about your whole Detroit, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Hardy, Midwestern thing you have with the Harbaughs out there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love the Harbaugh. I think they're terrific. I mean, again, as a kid, now I'm 13, 14 years old when I first met Jack, Coach Harbaugh, and his wife, Jackie. They're just phenomenal people. And then
they are.
As little guys, then first meeting both John and Jim, and then John goes to Miami. Of course, Jim was an All-American at playing for Bo Schembechler at Michigan, and so, I mean, yes, I've known the family forever, and, I wish them both great success because I think both are terrific coaches. And don't be surprised if you're going to see Brother Jim in the college football playoff this year, Nestor, because he's taken the criticism after going 8-5 last year and kind of kept his mouth shut, but here's his answer this year, and he's got a hell of a football team, and I think they may be primed to at least get to play for a championship this year. If they run the table, that'll happen for them.
Big Blue, as you say, the Detroit transplant stuck in Ohio. You're always in the middle of it out there, Reghi. Always a pleasure to visit with you. I appreciate you taking the call, and I didn't bug you much when we were playing the Browns. I probably won't bug you the next time we play the Browns, but I figure with all this activity going on this week, it'd be good to catch up with you as well, and less activity with the Orioles. There's been more going on in Cleveland this week than there has been with the Orioles, but we're holding our breath here.
It's always a lot of fun. I wish you the best, and I always look forward to chatting with you, buddy. Keep everything well.
See you later, Michael Reghi. Great having you on, buddy.
Always.
Michael Reghi, you can find him out on Twitter or at a MAC or an AAC or a college basketball game or Cleveland radio or pre or post game. He does it all. You can find him out on Twitter at Michael Reghi. You can find me out in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. It's connected to your mobile device. You can even link it into your car. My wife does it on her Bluetooth. Or you can listen to AM 1570. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault is there 24 hours a day, and we appreciate their sponsorship and their support of all the things that we do to listen to anything you want to listen to during this Pittsburgh week. Some baseball, some DJ Durkin, some Steelers stuff, some political stuff as we get ready for the election next week with Johnny O and Al Redmer, all in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.